Welcome to In Focus. If you ask most Canadians, they would be horrified that human trafficking exists, but also relieved that we live here. Canada isn't the kind of place where men and women entrap teenagers, moving them from city to city, buying and selling them as modern-day sex slaves. If you thought that, you would be wrong. Joining me today is Donald Bouchard, who knows the sobering truth about the sex trade industry in Canada as a former trafficker who is now on the front lines in the fight to save lives. Welcome, Donald.
God bless you.
You know, the Liberal government right now wants to legalize prostitution. How did we get here?
Well, it's amazing. I was talking to Joyce Smith about that, and she gave me the opportunity to go to...
MP Joyce Smith.
Yes, MP Joyce Smith. And she gave me the opportunity to be a witness in Capitol Hill to speak against this.
Yes.
You know, the moment we legalize prostitution, we're giving a green card to the predators and the human traffickers. It would be a complete disaster. So Joyce Smith has brought to Canada the Nordic model, where those who purchase sex and the human traffickers, they're criminalized, not demonizing the victim. That's what really works. That's a system that Joyce Smith has put together as well, and she's worked really hard to fight against these laws to legalize prostitution. We do not want to give a green card to the predators.
You know, as a former trafficker, you know all too well how it is to really prey upon the weak and demonizing them instead of going after the Johns. I mean, we've done many In Focus about human trafficking. How could we now begin to, from a government perspective, now get that voice across and get that point across that we're not demonizing?
Well, for one thing, I was talking about in Capitol Hill is we've had so much propaganda against smoking, and we've succeeded. The majority of our young people don't smoke anymore. We've got to make buying sex uncool. End of story. If the purchasers of sex were exposed, let's say overnight, that industry would drop dead because nobody wants to be exposed. So that would be one way, exposing the guys that are trafficking, exposing those who purchase sex, and we would literally eliminate this.
So you're saying follow the money, and you could, if you cut off the money, the source, you could actually cut off.
Yes, and offer the proper help to the victims of prostitution, the girls that have been lured into this lifestyle. Joyce Smith offers them a way out, and many other organizations as well. But I've had the privilege to work with her, and she's done a tremendous job at giving support to girls that don't know where to go from there.
You know, when you look at Member of Parliament Joyce Smith and what she's done, she's been a pit bull on the front line, but there needs to be even more of those that are getting called into the fight. How could we now begin to look at a proactive way of doing something about human trafficking? Because this isn't just one city, but you've said on earlier programs that this is from coast to coast, and this is not something that's dying, but it's actually growing.
Well, we've got people on the front line like Joyce Smith. I myself, what I try to do is I try to hit the streets. So we go out there, and I've trained 125 people last year. I teach believers how to share their faith and not be creepy about it. You know, go up to people and love them where they're at. I take my 10-year-old daughter. I started taking her, she was 10 years old. We'd be going down the streets in the back alleys, and we'd be going up to people that were broken, prostitutes, and we'd just go up to them and love them and care for them. You know, sometimes I'll go up to a prostitute and I'll say, you know, if you had a miracle in your life, what would that look like? And they just look at you and they say, well, I just want to be happy. I want my life back. And that's when you start loving them. Most of the time when you start praying for them or you give them a hug, they just fall apart and start crying. From there, you need organizations like Joyce Smith to keep up and to follow up on them and give them a safe haven.
So what you're saying is what we need to do is, first of all, love them and not necessarily judge them. Because I know as a pastor, I've seen so many times people come into a church and you see that they're very uncomfortable and they're just waiting for someone to break the ice. But second, what you're saying, what we need to do is write our member of parliament, and we need to be proactive about this and not just sit back, but make sure that we begin to now let our voice be heard. When you look at the work that you're doing now, you've got some trucks and some food trucks, but this is a different focus and it's a different approach. Tell us about that.
Well, we're trying to develop a budget right now. We're going to be the first catering unit for the street people. So we've got a team of people that are prayer warriors, and they've learned to care and love for people where they're at, which is awesome because we don't make ourselves superior, we make ourselves equal. And we will be taking this food truck or trailer down the streets, and we want to do this in every major city in Canada, and just put the food truck somewhere, draw these people, and offer them help whichever way we can. But if we can pray for them and tell them that the sacrifice on the cross revealed their value, we've hit the target.
And that's bringing it in focus. And this is Donald Bouchard. This is a former sex trafficker on the front line now and bringing those in. You can find more on our website, and we look forward to joining and linking arms with you. And now James Kelly from Faith Tech is with some tips on having a healthy perspective on technology.